human beings. You one lovers, I am honored to be with you, thankful for you. I have thoroughly enjoyed this week's meditation. It's been for me refreshing personally. I hope it has been for you as well. I'm refreshed by meditation regularly anyway, but man, this week for some reason for me has had a special level of vibrational frequency of love and joy and peace. And that is really the core principle for me personally. Those three things, more than anything else, really are the guides for my particular way of showing up in the world, is to show up as love and to show up as joy and as peace. And I believe we can do that when we choose to. With everything that's going on in the world, anything that's happening in the world that is less than that vibration should cease. I say this about what's happening in the Middle East. A ceasefire? Of course, it should happen immediately. And our government should stop supporting bombs and guns. I try my best to stay away from political things, but this is not a political thing. This is a human rights thing. I love the people of Israel. I love the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine. I love the people of the entire planet. And what has gone on over there is an atrocity. It's genocide. It's murder. It's gross. It's evil. And it doesn't need to continue to go on. And so, I am believing that our government officials are going to start to make some better choices. I'm praying for that and hoping for that. And I can feel pretty sure that most of you are on the same page with that. This is not a political thing. This is a human rights thing. And so we send our love and we send joy and peace and restoration, reconciliation over to the Middle East tonight especially. I want to share with you a series that I'm kind of considering starting. And really the title of the series is Living Wide Awake. Living Wide Awake. We've given the overarching theme to this year, an open door in 24. I didn't realize when we started talking about open door in 24 that we would be in the kind of transition we are. First Unity Spiritual Campus is in a major transition with our physical location. Some of you don't know this because some of you don't tune into what's happening at First Unity Spiritual Campus, but as a community, we've grown immensely. We've more than doubled in a year's time, in a year and a half time. And yet we find ourselves in a situation where we are having to transition our physical locations. So I'm asking you to be in agreement with us that all of that will unfold exactly the way it's supposed to, because it has not. It's been a little bit alarming. But what we've decided instead is to be alert, awake, and aware instead of alarmed. To know that we're not in trouble, we're in transition. But over this next couple of months, there are some decisions that are needing to be made right now, actually, and some choices that we're going to need to make, and ways that we'll stay connected, of course, here virtually. But I need your agreement with us that everything is all working out together for all of our good. And we believe that. We believe that our steps are ordered. The steps of a righteous one are ordered by God. And we know that before we arrived here in this meat suit, this skin suit that we're in, before we arrived here, in some way we signed up. We signed an agreement to come into this space and to live in this time in history. I really believe that. And we're going to get into that a little this evening. But I wanted to start this series, Living Wide Awake. Stay awake, stay alert, stay aware. Don't be alarmed, because when you're alarmed, you get called to arms. That's when conflict becomes combat. And that's when the violence begins. That's when we start to fight. And whatever you fight, you ignite. Whatever you resist will persist. You give it energy. And so we don't want to give energy to anything other than what we want to manifest in our lives. And that's positivity, love, joy, peace, all of those beautiful things. But I want to share with us what are some principles, some things that I think give us the ability to live our life wide awake. Some of these principles and ideas you already know, but the encouragement here is to remember them, and not just remember them, but practice those things. And so I invite us into a practice, and these are going to be some very practical ways to live wide awake. And again, many of these you already know, but I want to be a consistent reminder of these things. I'm sharing these things with you, and these are things I'm determining to do in my personal life I invite you into those principles as well. Before we do that, let's go ahead and center for just a moment. I invite you to go inward. Remember, if we don't go within, we go without. That the only way out of a troubling time or troubling situation is in. The only way out is in. To go through the internal guidance system, the inner guidance system that has been given to us. The kingdom of God is within. The authority, the power to live our life is within. And we're invited all to come into that space. And then inside, in the heart of our being, in the anahata, which is the chakra heart, the heart chakra, is stillness and peace. And a beautiful awareness that we are guided and directed by the pure presence that brought everything into existence. And so I invite us for a few moments to, center into that space. And so we receive a deep breath. And we exhale. And we say how grateful we are right here and right now. To be in this present moment, it's a great gift. That's why it's called the present. And right here, right now, we once again commit ourselves to living in the high vibrations of love, joy, and peace. We commit ourselves to remembering what has been often dismembered through conditioning and through the hypnosis, frankly, that is often put upon us in this life. And we say thank you. Thank you, sweet Spirit, Spirit of truth. Take from us what we don't need. Bring to us what we do need. We are surrendered. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk on the water wherever you'd call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith is made stronger in your presence. And so it is. And so it is. Excuse me. The pollen, I guess. I want to share with us again just some things, because as I go through this life and I talk about these grandiose ways that we can live, I have people say, okay, so let's say I believe that, whatever it may be that I share. Let's say that I believe that. How do I activate that in my life? So I want to get to these practical things. A lot of times what we do on Sundays, honestly, what we do is we give the hype. It's almost like the pep talk. But I kind of during the week want to bring this back down to the ground a little bit and share with us access to some real tools that I feel like can help us to not just process these truths, but begin to practice these truths. Process how real and powerful these tools can be, but then practice the discipline of these tools. And this is the beginning of our series, Living Wide Awake, and we'll just call this part 1. And the number one thing I believe that brings us into an awakened spiritual way of showing up in the world is, and this is what I've chosen for today, first and foremost, love. And I've written some things down that I want to be very precise with. As we go through this process, this is going to be a little more, it's going to sound a little more like teaching, if that's okay with everyone. I'm a very spontaneous person, and all of you know that at any moment I'm liable to go off, but I want to share these methodical ways because I want us to get very practical about this practice. We've called ourselves New Thought believers, expanded consciousness people, inclusive people, progressive spiritualists, more than religious people. We consider ourselves to be spiritual. And in light of that, I think it's important for us to put forth some kind of a doctrine, not a strict theology, not a strict doctrine, but to put forth some really practical things for our lives. And the first thing to me for living and a living wide awake, first is love. I believe personally that love, that essence, that vibrational energy of love, is what fuels all of existence. Whether the spiritual quest be one of understanding divinity or just improving your own spiritual condition, love fuels, love energizes, love gives power to the essence of who you truly are. Love or presence is engaged by living with your breath as it brings you back to the now moment. Love always brings you back to the now moment, as I think this was our mantra during our meditation this morning, where unconditional love brings me back home to my heart. I am loved. I am supported. I am guided. Unconditional love brings me back to the heart. The mind is a wonderful servant, but it's a terrible master. For many, many years, people have been trying to live through more intelligence and more knowledge. But you can ever, the scripture, even the Bible says that they would be ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. We can learn so much, and there's so much to learn about the life that we live in, but the true wisdom and the truth of who we are is located in the heart, not in the brain. And again, the brain is a wonderful tool. It's a central processing unit for the body. It is the sort of the bridge, if you want to use that terminology, if any of you who remember Star Trek or you understand what a cockpit is on a plane. So maybe the brain is that. But the fuel that makes this work, the fuel that gives this flight, that gives us the ability to fly, is love itself. It is the fuel of existence. At the moment of remembrance, you are immersed. When you remember to come back into the now, you are immersed, you're bathed in and rejuvenated in the highest form of divine love when you get into the present moment. Experiencing love is like experiencing time. Consider how humankind caters to time continuously. I was thinking about this today. We cater to time. And if we cater to love the way we cater to time, by setting appointments, setting alarms in our phones, writing things down on a calendar, what if you made an appointment with love the same way you make doctor's appointments? Or the same way you make business appointments? What if you begin to cater to love the same way you've catered to all of these other appointments in your life? What if the first appointment every day was to get into love and get into the now moment? And this is why I say at the beginning of every day, we want to live wide awake. At the beginning of every day, make an appointment to remind yourself to get back into love. Because love is the fuel of all of existence. Love is the pure presence. And again, at the moment that we remember that love is the pure presence and that love is the fuel from where everything comes to exist and everything is an emanation and a manifestation of love, when we know this, we become immersed and bathed in it, rejuvenated by it. And this is the highest form of divine love. You start to live in agape. And agape love goes beyond loving those who are easy to love when it is easy to love them. Agape love is making a choice to love no matter what. But the only way to do that, the only way to get into agape and start operating in that divine kind of love is to practice practically love. And so if you're going to cater to appointments, cater to the business that pays your bills, and there are a lot of people who think paying your bills is the most important thing, then that means you're in prison. You're trapped. You're not free. You're a slave. Even if you're a business owner and you're living to do nothing but pay your bills, you're catering to paying your bills and paying for your cars and your houses, but you're not catering to the love that's the essence that fuels everything, all of existence. If you're not catering to that side of you, then you're still a slave. You're a slave to the next bill. You're a slave to the next car payment. You're a slave to the payment on your next trip. And you're not living completely wide awake. In fact, you become a part of the walking dead, sort of a zombie, going through your life unconsciously, If you want to live wide awake, start catering to love like you've catered to other things in your life. When you do that, again, you become immersed, bathed in, and rejuvenated by the highest form of divine love by living in that present moment. And you get to experience that divinity in your life. So the first thing first is love. And next, these are, again, practical tools to use to live life wide awake. Next is meditation, contemplation, and affirmative prayer. Mostly I want to speak to meditation this evening because I can tell you the single most important spiritual tool for my personal awakening was and is meditation. And I actually looked up the word Zen. My kids have, and I've had a basic idea of what it meant, but my kids have referred to me as Zen Dad. And I wanted to look up the word Zen, and the word Zen actually simply means meditation. And I've mentioned to you before that meditation is the best medication. Going back to now catering to love first, and then next catering to your time of Zen, your time of meditation. The practice of meditation can bring, of course, many benefits. Greater attention. For folks who have attention deficit disorders, meditation actually can help you with that. It can help you to wire the brain to be attentive. It also brings a greater awareness of your true self, your true essence, a settling down of your emotional life. When you're in meditation, you're able to take a look at the emotions, the feelings, and the thoughts, and you're able to realize that those are not who you are, right? And so as you recognize that, you begin to be more in charge of. You settle down your emotional life. Here's some other very practical things that meditation, contemplation, and affirmative prayer do. Science, there's science behind this. Go and look it up if you don't believe it. Would people who meditate end up with a growing sense of goodwill and kindness and a desire to be of help in this world, to actually not just withdraw, but to deposit compassion and kindness and goodwill into the world. In fact, I looked this up. The latest brain imaging technology is showing that meditators have sensed showing what meditators have sensed for millennia, that the brain circuitry associated with relationships, compassion, attentiveness, peace, and joy are all amplified in those who have become long-term meditators. People who will sit in the stillness and will simply be with the breath, just be with the present moment. People who will learn to observe and be aware of their thoughts, their emotions, and their feelings, but know that those are not them, just observe them. People who have learned to become the witness and the observer of the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions through the beautiful modality of meditation become more compassionate. They become more attentive. They are more filled with peace and with joy. Those are the things that are amplified in those who choose the practice of meditation. So I'll go back to, we have catered to time, to making a living, to building relationships with a partner, with our children. Those are all wonderful things. But if you're not catering to these principles for your own self, eventually you get depleted and you run out. And this is why people turn to alcohol, to drugs, to affairs outside of their marriages and outside of their committed relationships, because they're trying to find a way to refuel and rejuvenate. When if you would just get into meditation, first thing in the morning you get into love, remind yourself to cater to love and to loving awareness, loving yourself, and then into meditation, contemplation, and an affirmative prayer. If you would just take the first 30 minutes of your day to do these things, you would begin to really quickly see a difference in your life. So the technology, all of the imaging, brain imaging around those who are meditators have shown us that people who meditate regularly, the circuitry in their brain associated with relationships, compassion, attentiveness, love, and peace and joy is amplified. Still, silent attention to breath creates vitality for clear and nourishing spiritual growth. A daily practice connects you to a deep understanding of who you truly are. I like to say that it is the starter for living wide awake. It is the starting point for true spiritual living. If you can get into this as a part of your reality, if you can build a habit around meditation, contemplation, affirmative prayer, I'm talking mostly about meditation tonight. If you can build a practice around this, you'll literally change the rest of your life. And when it comes to contemplation, because meditation is different than content. Actually, meditation is freedom from content. But also be mindful of the content through contemplation. What is it that you're ruminating on first thing in the morning? If you're ruminating on the troubles, the concerns with employees, the concerns with your business, if you ruminate on not having enough money, on inflation, if you ruminate on politics, first thing in the morning, what you ruminate on is going to marinate the meat of your life, and that's going to be what you taste from your life. So take that 30, 40, 45 minutes in the morning and meditate, contemplate, and enter into affirmative prayer. It's a joyous thing. I promise you, it changes everything about your outlook on life because you cleanse the lenses first thing. You wake up and you start your day and you get into this process of first love. Contemplate loving thoughts, loving feelings, loving emotions. Maybe it's good for you to have a book by Eckhart Tolle or D.E. Polk or a book by Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra or Louise Hay or Temple Hayes or one of these, Marianne Williamson, one of these other great, wonderful spiritual leaders in the world. And you just read an excerpt from them to start your day. Maybe you do a guided meditation where maybe you have a hard time sitting still, but with someone talking to you through a guided meditation, maybe you're able to listen to affirmative things. Make these things a practice. I promise you, you will grow yourself, you'll expand yourself, but meditation then becomes the starter toward a healthy spiritual condition in your life. So love first, next meditation, contemplation, affirmative prayer, a combination of the three, or at least one of those three. And affirmative prayer is not begging God to make your day well. Affirmative prayer is I affirm that God goes before me. I affirm that joy is mine. I affirm that abundance is my nature. I affirm that love is who I am. I affirm that gratitude is my attitude. I affirm that I was given the birthright of abundance and well-being and health and goodness, joy and peace. I affirm that there's not a single challenge I'm going to face today that God does not already have a plan to bring me through. God, and this is an affirmation, God will never bring me to it without a plan to bring me through it. Affirm. All right, and lastly for this evening, because I don't want to run us over too late. So, cater to love, cater to meditation, and cater to remembering who you really are. Listen, if you'll do these three things, honestly, I mean, we can add some things over the next few weeks, and I plan on adding some things to make this series whole. But if you'll cater to these three things, if you'll just start here, magic is going to show up in your life. So cater to remembering who you are. And so I wrote a few things down I want to share with us. I want to make sure I get some of these things to you. From the womb to the tomb, the most important thing we can do is remember who we are and where we're from. We are not human beings having occasional spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having a human experience and a temporary human expression. And while we are here, it would bode well for us to remember what we truly are at our truest essence. When you start to get confused about what you have and what you can do, and being male and female, and being gay or straight, and being Christian or Muslim or Jew or Republican or Democrat or independent, or the list goes on and on, or mom and dad, or husband or wife, or lover or friend, or secret girlfriend or boyfriend. If you're not careful, you get locked into those things as your identity. Always first thing in the day, remind yourself, love, cater to love in that moment, meditate, and remind yourself of who you truly are. Remind yourself that you are a human expression of the divine. That you're a spiritual being having a human experience. Each human on this planet chose in some way to incarnate here, I believe, to serve humankind during its greatest transformational period in the history of humanity. Those who are hearing and under the sound of my voice at this present moment, we are a part of a major shift in the entire universe, but certainly on this planet. And I believe we all signed up to come here. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I made a contract and an agreement to be here right now. And then remind yourself during this time that we know is, I'm declaring it's the greatest transformational period in the history of humanity. And we're slowly waking up. But I think we can speed up, we can expedite the process by practicing these things. Humans are slowly remembering that this is our purpose for being here. We are waking up like never before. We are being freed from the hypnosis of the smallness and playing it small. We are waking up and realizing that for generations there's been an all-out sort of war against the minds of humanity. We're realizing that we don't have to seek greater spiritual status. We just need to wake up to who we are. We don't need to become anything. We just need to remember who we already are in our truest, essential form. You're already masters, co-creating this period of rising frequencies and higher dimensional levels. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I'm already a spiritual master. I am a co-creator with Christ right here, right now. See, even in the New Testament, it said that Jesus is a co-laborer with us. We are co-creating. I'm not going to use the term laborer because there's really no labor to it. You have the magic within you, the ability to manifest. You're an emanation and a manifestation of the pure presence already. You have within you loaded and coded the divine principle, that powerful principle of causation dwells within you. The divine mind is my mind. But we're already masters, co-creating in this period of rising frequencies and higher dimensional levels. Maybe you've merely forgotten. The amnesia right now is being healed and the truth is being revealed. Those who are listening and tuned into this right now, you have a deep resonance in your soul with this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be tuned in to this kind of a movement. This One Love Consciousness movement. This international communion of expanding consciousness. This First Unity Spiritual Campus, Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, Agape Ministries, other ministries around the planet, all over the planet. Waking up to this as our reality. We have a deep resonance in our soul that tells us this is the truth. And that's what you're feeling. When you feel those goosebumps as you listen to this message, it's not because I'm telling you something that you don't know. It's because this vibrational frequency is vibing with a vibration that's already within you. I have nothing to teach you, but to share with you a reminder. And I say to you tonight, your beauty is indescribable, and it's yours to discover. Your beauty is indescribable, and it's all yours to discover, to recover, and to uncover within you through love first, meditation, contemplation, and affirmative prayer, and simply remembering who you are. These are some keys for living wide awake. Can I get a witness up in here? Somebody. If you would, receive a deep breath and maybe say aloud, I choose to live in this flow motion, this glow motion, this grow motion. I choose to allow this to flow to me, for me, through me, and as me. I choose to live fully awake, wide awake. And so it is. So again, to recap, in our first of this series, part one of this series, Living Wide Awake, first, love. Next is meditation, contemplation, affirmative prayer. And then remembering, number 3, remembering who you truly are, or remembering what somehow life so far has dismembered. And I go back to these words. Let these words ring out. From the womb to the tomb, the most important thing we can do is remember who we are and where we're from, what substance we're built of. Okay, y'all, I'm going to get up out of here now. I've held you long enough for this evening. I'm so excited about this series. I think this is really in the process of unlocking some things for us. Tomorrow morning we will have our meditation. I'll see you again in the morning. Invite somebody. Would you invite somebody? Would you share this live stream to your own page? Consider doing that. And also consider financially supporting this ministry. If it's $20, $25, $50, $100, $1 million, whatever's laid on your heart, if you are receiving food from this ministry, consider making that exchange. I don't think it's a wrong thing to ask, and so I'm asking. And thank you so much for being willing to be a part of that. Now, the giving screen is going to be up on the way out this evening, but if you prefer using Zelle or Cash App or any of those other things, just inbox me, send me a message, and I can get you that information privately. It's a secure way to give, and your gifts are necessary for us to do what we're doing. We're in the process now of building an audio podcast that's going to be on all of the audio platforms out there. There's things that we want to do to spread this word, and you are a part of that. Thank you for supporting it. I love you all. I hear the music getting started, so I'm getting out of here. Now go and make it a great evening, because you can. Peace.